with us!
The latest Hellraiser installment, that is, David Bruckner's 2022 film Hellraiser, did exceptionally well when it came to honoring the original and elevating the fear factor. But more importantly, the Cenobites themselves were shown in a much darker and evil light, in the sense that some of them looked way more horrifying and exuded an aura of sheer dark, grim evil. Of course, Pinhead was made canonically female, much to the chagrin of a few and the delight of others. And among this new Pinhead's most loved henchman was the Gasp, Pinhead's right hand. Interestingly, the Gasp is actually a blend of two very iconic Cenobites from previous movies. Any guesses? Well, I will reveal who these two are later in the video. But for now, let's start with Gasp's origin and role in the movie before exploring her personality, powers, and other juicy tidbits. Oh, and before I begin, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You wouldn't know, but these two small clicks from you make huge impacts for us. Thanks! And now, let's begin. Origin and history in the movie. Needless to say, the Gasp is an exceptionally formidable Cenobite, but since it was just the first movie of a rebooted universe, her origins remain shrouded in mystery. We do know that she was once human and likely fell prey to the allure of the Lament configuration while seeking otherworldly pleasure disguised as pain, or pretty much the other way around. Of course, there have hardly been people who solved the puzzle box and escaped the wrath of the Cenobites, and the same could be said about the Cenobites. Like her other colleagues, the Demons of Pain and Angels of Pleasure, the Gasp lived a life of trauma or had dark desires. Solving the box led to her transformation into a Cenobite. She must eventually have become a favorite of Pinhead and served under her leadership as her second in command. As for her job profile, it is mostly about capturing and tormenting living beings, dragging them into the labyrinth for eternal suffering. You know, the usual Cenobite stuff. In fact, the movie's story also hints at her presence when Roland Voight was coerced by Pinhead to gather more victims. Now, it may not seem like too big of a deal, but this established her as a key player in the Cenobites' relentless pursuit of souls. As the movie proceeds, the story gets way more intense, but no point exploring the entire movie, so I would only focus on Gasp and her arc. So, Riley McKendry successfully solves the configuration box without falling victim to its blade. However, Riley managed to narrowly escape the Gasp and her fellow Cenobites. Pinhead confronts Riley and demands she finds another soul to save her life, cause that's the only logical thing Pinhead can think of since Clive Barker days. The following day, when Serena Menaker, Roland's former lawyer, inadvertently opens the box during Riley and Trevor's visit, Serena's accidental piercing leads to a terrifying encounter with the Gasp, who mercilessly stabs her throat, thus ensuring Serena's eternal torture in the labyrinth. Riley's defiance grows when she refuses Pinhead's demand for more souls in exchange for her brother, Matt's return. In retaliation, Pinhead summons the Gasp and the Cenobites to capture Riley and her friends. Now, during the confrontation at Roland Voight's mansion, Riley faces impossible choices. The Gasp reveals Matt was set free in the sense that he was killed by Pinhead, and the arrival of Matt's boyfriend Colin further complicates the situation, which, in turn, forces Riley to use the configuration box. Later, Riley allows Pinhead and the Cenobites into the mansion after Roland Voight summons the Leviathan, only to trap them behind steel bars. The Gasp pursues Colin and inflicts some more of the good old torture with steel wires. However, Riley's desperate attempt to do something makes her stab Trevor, with the box swaps their fates, which ends in Trevor being tormented while Colin escapes. In the end, Pinhead and the Gasp confront Riley and warn her that her anguish is far from over. Her choice to resurrect Matt burdens her with immense guilt, and Riley learns the hard way the tragic consequences of tampering with dark forces. What makes the Gasp a deadly Cenobite? The Gasp is a loyal servant to Pinhead, and in turn the Leviathan. Her sole purpose is to capture victims and deliver them to the labyrinth for torment. Like her fellow Cenobites, she thrives on inflicting pain and finds twisted satisfaction in both giving and receiving torture. While Pinhead exudes an air of intellectual evil, the Gasp revels in sadistic pleasure. She openly celebrates the agony she inflicts, which makes her one of the most perverse of her kind. The Gasp enjoys tormenting her victims psychologically and physically. This is evident when she silences Serena Menaker by shoving a pin down her throat. In fact, she mocks and advises her to save her breath for screams. She also taunts Riley, coldly stating that Pinhead had set her brother free after his flaying. Despite her cruelty, she respects agreements, which is probably one of the best things about Cenobites. These guys do stick to their words no matter what. When a bargain is struck, either with her or Pinhead, she spares her victims in accordance with the deal. As far as her powers go, the Gasp has some pretty cool and unique abilities, most of which are typical of Cenobites. Of course, she is immune to pain, a trait that comes from years of both voluntary and forced torture. Her body, mutilated beyond recognition, is in constant pain, yet she has adapted to it and draws pleasure from the sensation. She is also immortal, incapable of aging or decaying, and can live for millennia. However, she appears vulnerable to the configuration box's blades and specific labyrinth weapons. Teleportation is another of her skills. Like other Cenobites, she can move between the labyrinth and earthly realms. Her powers, however, seem diminished in the presence of the Leviathan. She and her companions can also be trapped by living beings using specialized steel doors designed as puzzles. One of her most fearsome abilities is Telekinesis. She can summon thin, barbed wires seemingly out of nowhere, which she can use to blind, mutilate, or kill her victims. In fact, these wires are her signature weapon. Inspiration behind Gasp. The Gasp's design draws inspiration from two iconic Cenobites: Deep Throat from Hellraiser and Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and Angelique from Hellraiser Bloodline. These characters were fan favorites in the original franchise, which kinda makes the Gap a tribute to their legacy. And to me, it makes sense to take the best features of a franchise and blend them together to make something better. Her appearance includes Deep Throat's nose piercing and slashed open neck, held together with surgical pins that restrict her breathing. Her scalp, stretched downward and hooked to her shoulders and throat, are similar to Angelique's torn scalp. The Gasp is also interesting because she is the first Cenobite portrayed by an actress of Asian heritage. She also shares a unique ability with Pinhead. Any guesses? Well, she can summon objects to restrain and torture her victims. While Pinhead uses iron chains with hooks, the Gasp wields thin, steel barbed wires, adding her own distinct style to the franchise's roster of Cenobites. What are Selena Lo, the Gasp actress's thoughts on her character and other aspects of the movie? Selena Lo, who plays the Gasp, shared insights into her role in an interview with Bloody Disgusting. Hellraiser interview chatterer, Gasp, and Weeper actors speak. She emphasized the importance of movement, especially the walk, which defines the Cenobites. Lo explained how she and David Bruckner worked meticulously on perfecting the walk to convey the regality and intent of the Cenobites. Achieving this in their costumes, which were restrictive and complex, only made the whole process more difficult and challenging. She also spoke about the focus on the Gasp's torn throat, and that inspiration was drawn from the original Cenobite who served as Pinhead's right-hand woman. Every word the Gasp speaks is painful, yet she finds pleasure in that pain, which is technically a key aspect of her character. Lo recalled a specific direction from Bruckner during the delivery of one of her favorite lines, "Save your breath for screaming." He instructed her to say it not as a threat, but as a lullaby, a subtle yet impactful choice that enhanced the line's eerie quality. Discussing the physical demands of the role, Lo detailed how the costumes influenced her performance. The thick silicone bands of the bodysuit acted as resistance, which made every movement feel contained and bound. This constriction aligned with the Cenobite's state of constant pain and control. The makeup and prosthetics further added to the character's torment, with a metal rod running over her head to hold her torn throat's skin in place. These elements, she noted, were integral to capturing the Gasp's essence. Lo also connected these aspects to the franchise's core theme of pain and pleasure, which heavily informed the character's design and performance. So yeah, that was all in this one, guys. See you next time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.